here in the Hastings City Council chambers. Welcome back, everyone. All right, we do have a quorum, so we will go ahead and begin with the minutes from the June 10th, 2021 regular meeting. All right, does anyone have any comments or questions regarding the minutes from the last meeting? All right, if not, we will entertain a motion. We have a motion to accept the minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Gobush. All right, all those in favor of accepting the minutes from our last meeting in June, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, the minutes are accepted. All right, on to item number 3 this evening are the bills. John or Eric, would you like to review any of those for us?
Sure, Mr. President. The bills that we have, a majority of them are for our outdoor seating grant program. Again, this is mostly for the parklets that you see within the downtown area. Also some other restaurants that did non-parklet improvements to their outdoor seating. That comprised most of the expenses we had last month, and I can stand for any questions.
All right, are there any questions for John? All right, if not, we can entertain a motion then.
Motion to approve.
All right, a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. All right, all those in favor of accepting the bills for this month, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, the bills are accepted. Okay, everyone, on to our items of business this evening. Under A, we have the authorization and signature for the Confluence Development, the Fourth Amendment to Purchase and Development Agreement. All right, John or Eric, would you like to carry that for us?
Sure, I could do that, Mr. President. Before you is an agreement for the Confluence facility, and as HEDRA knows, this is something that we have been involved in for quite some time. We've been thankful that we've had a developer in Confluence and Pat Regan that has stayed with the project. There's certainly been a lot of great opportunities and challenges with it as we move forward. As you may recall, that back in 2016, we did have a purchase agreement originally that transferred the building, set certain conditions of performance relating to what the city and HEDRA needed to provide and what Confluence and Regan's group needed to do as well. We've accomplished many of those as we've gone forward. And we're in a position that we transferred the building and have completed most of our environmental obligations. What's remaining on the building is some last tax credit issuance and beginning of some of the interior work and then opening of the facility itself. With that, there's some amendments necessary to that purchase and development agreement. Although the property has transferred, some of the dates for performance have expired, and we want to make sure that those are true. And so the agreement does a couple of things. One, it provides an up-to-date situation of those dates. So things that have been performed are noted as being performed. Those that have not been performed have dates certain listed on those. One of those things, which is our obligation, pertains to some of the environmental obligations. Our work on that is very substantially complete at this point. Last year, we went through a wood encapsulation project in which the wood was washed and encapsulated with a sealant to protect it against environmental contaminants. That work was performed last year. However, there has been some flaking and some other areas of concern within the building that we're addressing as we speak. What this agreement does is it contemplates that is an outstanding issue. It gives us to August 31st to completion. I have talked to our consultants on that, and that appears to be a date that we will meet. The other one is the substantially complete construction. Now, HEDRA members may recall that we've had various dates for this. This is the date that we state that the building needs to be done. In the past, we've had those dates. Various items have come up. The date we've established here is October 31st, 22. The big difference with this date today is that behind this date, Confluence has agreed that if they do not meet it, that they will be there will be a minimum assessment agreement levied upon the property. What that means is regardless of whether this building is constructed completely by October 31st of next year, Confluence will pay taxes on the value of the completed building. As you may recall, the TIF bond that we issued for the building, for acquisition of the facility, was based upon future revenues from the completed building, and that we've had some difficulties in the last couple of years in that not being met and having obligations that we didn't intend to have. This will stop that. This will be able to, the income will come in from a taxes to pay off the debt on the bond issuance there. This also signals to me the confidence that Confluence has in this project, that they feel very confident in the performance of the facility and the opening of this facility by them entering into it. Those are really the main factors of this. We have members from, or representatives from Confluence tonight, Pat Regan and Mike Mattingly. I thought it would be good for them to come forward tonight, share some updates and things that have been going on within the project itself, and be here for any questions that you might have. So again, the action we have before you is to authorize signature of the agreement, and I can answer any questions pertaining to that, and the Confluence group may wish to make a few statements too. Thank you.
All right, thank you, John. Gentlemen, would you like to speak right now?
Thank you, Mr. President and Commissioners. I'm Mike Mattingly, a partner and in-house legal counsel for Confluence Development. Been working with Pat on this project for really throughout the time we've been working on it, since about 2013. So it's been a long haul for us. It's been a long haul for you. It's been a labor of love for us, that's for sure. And we're excited and grateful to be here tonight, and appreciate the support that we had from the council on Tuesday, and appreciate HEDRA's support throughout this process. So maybe 2 minutes on what happened over the last year, and I won't belabor the points, and then more on where we're going from here. So I think everybody knows that it was March 12th of 2020 was when we signed our original term sheets with our federal and state tax credit investor, which was really the last step in moving forward full bore with construction on the project. March 17th of 2020, 5 days later, is really when the shutdown order went into effect, and when the whole economy kind of ground to a halt. That, the impact of that on our project as a hotel anchored project was pretty momentous. It caused us to lose that tax credit investor. They had a company-wide, it was a large national company, they had a company-wide moratorium on any exposures related to hospitality. So we had worked for months to get that relationship in place, and it fell apart. But we, for the first couple months, we didn't really know exactly what the duration of the impacts of COVID was going to be. I think that started to become clearer to us in the summer. And so we adapted and created this phased construction plan that I think we presented to you on by Zoom a few months back, or more than a few months back probably. And what that allowed us to do was to close an interim loan that let us complete a significant portion of the outside work on the building. So a lot of site work, utility work, and then also a lot of visible work that you see with to the shell of the building and to the roof of the building. And so that's been, really impactful, and I think it's been something that people can see tangible progress on the building, which has been good for us to see, and I think good for the community to see. At the same time, obviously, we've been working behind the scenes on getting the overall process moving forward. And that's involved locating really two main components, in addition to a number of other things, but locating new federal and state tax credit investors, which we've done, having signed term sheets with them in May, and now working on the definitive agreements with them, late stages of that. And then also there's a restaurant component to the project. The pandemic made it difficult to locate people looking to open new restaurants in new locations. That was a challenge for us, simultaneously sort of created an opportunity for us. And so what we did there is we decided that we'd engage IDM Hospitality Management, our hotel partner, to also operate the restaurant. So rather than just having the restaurant be a tenant in the space and having IDM operate the hotel. IDM will operate the restaurant and the hotel. We think that'll create a lot of synergies with the events component, the ability to take advantage of all that great outdoor space around there, and the really fantastic, we think, event space. So, you know, kind of multiple examples, I think, but ultimately in both of those scenarios with the tax credit investor and the restaurant, it was a challenge that presented itself, obviously created delays and challenges for you and for us, but we feel good about how we were able to turn that, I guess, challenge into what we think is ultimately probably a positive thing. So where are we going? I think the immediate place that we're going, and we announced this at the city council meeting, but a week from today, on next Thursday, the 15th, 8:30 p.m., we're going to do a lighting up of the cupolas ceremony. And this will be at the second story of the parking ramp, so on the south side of 2nd Street, the second level of the ramp. We'll have a setup and we'll do a little presentation. And when the sun goes down, we'll turn on lights on the new cupolas that just went back on the building yesterday for people who have been driving across the bridge or otherwise able to see them. So they add a ton of character back to that building. It's awesome to see them. We're proud of how they look, and we're really excited to see how they look at night. So that'll be a good opportunity for some community engagement. We're excited about that. Following that, I think that we're in position to be confident that we're really going to, you know, see constant and consistent action at the site, and then moving a lot more into the interior of the building to get the work done there. And we feel good about the timeline that's laid out in this agreement. Like John said, obviously the commitment to the minimum assessment agreement does reflect our confidence in the ability to achieve that timeline. We think we can underpromise and overdeliver a little bit, and it's certainly our goal, I think, to be open before the fall, which is what that contemplates. And we think we can do that, but there are a lot of unknowns out there still in supply chains with impacts related to COVID and just ongoing challenges with pricing and supply chain. So we wanted the flexibility, and we appreciate that exists under the agreement. So happy to answer any questions, and thankful to be here, and thankful for your ongoing support.
All right, thank you very much. Commissioners, does anyone have any questions at this point? Yes, Commissioner Sullivan.
Hi, good
Hi.
evening, thanks for coming. I noticed in the packet, they said there's going to be some realignment of the number of apartment units, and some of that space is going to be taken somewhere else. Can you address that a little bit? How many you originally anticipated, what you're looking at now?
So it's the direct adjustment and immediate adjustment to the number of apartments would be minor. We'd be going from 20 apartments that were contemplated, I think, under the original development agreement. We'll now have 18. Essentially what we did is there are two, on each level, there are two large 2-bedroom units on the end, sort of the end caps closest to the river. You know, as we had a chance and more time to look at the design of those units, we decided that we were underselling ourselves a little bit with those, and that we needed to improve them, add a little bit more space, make them a little bit larger and better able to cater to the types of people that we think might be interested in living there. And so we adjusted the size of that, and that caused us ultimately kind of a follow-on effect where we ended up losing one unit, but we think it was worthwhile in terms of being able to create a lot more functional floor plans for all the apartments. So not a huge change there. And other than that, it's primarily 1-bedrooms and an ADA studio on each level.
All right, thank you. Does anyone have any additional comments or questions? All right, thank you, everyone. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
All right, John, are we looking for a vote then this evening?
We are. We're looking for action to authorize signature of the Fourth Amendment to the purchase and development.
All right, commissioners, if we have no additional comments or questions, we will entertain motion. Commissioner Vaughn?
I'll make a motion then that we authorize the signature of Confluence Development Fourth Amendment to Purchase and Development Agreement as presented.
Thank you. Commissioner, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, all those in favor of authorizing the signature tonight, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And the motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everyone. All right, we are on to item B under our business this evening. We have another resolution to authorize a signature. Contract for private development and TIF agreement between HEDRA and Hastings AH1 LLLP Schoolhouse Square Senior Housing. John, do you have any comments or?
Sure.
Thank you.
I'll give a brief recap. You may be looking at this going, we did this last month, and you would be correct. We did authorize signature of the agreement. The agreement itself has not changed. However, in consultation with our legal staff, they were more comfortable in having a resolution adopted authorizing signature of it. So that's what we're asking for tonight, is for you to authorize signature of that contract for private development TIF agreement. Again, what this is this is the TIF agreement for the Schoolhouse Square housing development. This would pledge TIF for a period of 15 years to allow for the units to be affordable during that time period. During that conversation, there was some discussion as to what the long-term viability would be for affordability of those units. It would be at least for 20 years per requirements from CDA. And talking to the staff at Real Estate Equities, the owner of the property, they are not seeking any changes beyond that. Obviously, 20 years might be different, but they have no intentions of changing that. And they said, based upon the other projects that they have completed, they have all remained to be senior facilities. So I can stand for any questions related to this. Again, this is a resolution to authorize signature.
Very good. Thank you, John. Does anyone have any questions or comments regarding this tonight? All right, seeing none, I guess we will entertain a motion at this point.
Also move approval of the agreement.
Thank you, Commissioner Horsch. I will second that. So we will go ahead and vote to approve this. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, the motion carries. Thank you, everyone. All right, we are on to item C, another resolution to rescind and terminate the lot sale approval for Miller Electric. John or Eric?
Mr. President, I'll be taking this one.
Thank you.
Give John a break. Earlier in this year, HEDRA took action to approve a preliminary lot sale to Miller Electrical to support a new building for that business. That business has looked further into the prospect for development, deemed it not currently financially feasible due to the increasing cost of construction and overall development. For that reason, we're seeking essentially for HEDRA to, and City Council acted on something similar Tuesday evening, essentially to rescind that preliminary lot approval and preliminary lot sale to Miller Electrical. That's after conversation with city attorney, just because there was that action taken by HEDRA to approve that lot sale, that we should then rescind that lot sale because it's no longer active. Rescinding that lot sale at this time would not preclude HEDRA from approving a lot sale to that business in the future, but would open it up for the city to negotiate in good faith should another business be interested in that lot. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
All right, very good. Thank you, Eric. Does anyone have any questions for Eric on this tonight? All right, thank you, anyone. Seeing no additional comments or questions, we will entertain a motion.
I'll move to adopt the motion, the resolution rescinding and terminating lot sale as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Sinclair. Do we have a second tonight? Thank you. All right, all those in favor of approving this resolution, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, the motion carries. Thank you, everyone. All right, moving right along to item D, looking at adopting the HEDRA strategic plan for the next year. All right, John or Eric, would you like to lead us into this?
Thank you, Mr. President. As the board is aware, we've been spending some time working on our strategic planning priorities and identifying what activities we should be involved in over the next year or two. And with your assistance and your dedication in providing input at the meetings. We, and I stress more, Eric, has put together a great matrix here, putting the priorities that you identified into some logical order as far as how we go about to do them. This is something that we reviewed last meeting. We held off on taking official action to this meeting. The only changes, substantive changes within the matrix itself is, there's one other priority that we added to it, and that was relating to opportunities for activation of the alley between Second Street and Levy Park Promenade. So this is the area, the back of the buildings in Second Street, generally behind the main large parking lot there by the Legion and in other areas along Second Street there, to be able to activate that out. So identify timeframes and funding sources too. With the funding sources that we've established on here, these will be used and are being used in putting together our budget for next year. Eric and I had sat down today, we're looking through budget priorities. Things that we're looking at in there include taking some capital that we have under our fund balance to be able to have funds available to be more active in the acquisition of properties in some of these key areas, or being involved in funding to make some of these projects happen. That's going to be a key element, and we'll have more to share on that coming up at the next meeting here. So budget item that we're including in there. Other priorities in here about different grant programs and assistance programs that we have through our loans. There'll be money and funds for that are requested as part of the budget as well. Looking at the UBC building and some of the development that is there. Also, stuff that we have within this year's budget, and we're having more of that coming into next year's budget as well. So we'll have more discussion of that coming up at the August meeting, but just wanted to provide some context of linkage between what we were planning on doing and what we will have funds to do, hopefully, upon the approval of the budget itself. So officially, we're asking for a motion to adopt the strategic plan, but certainly available for questions on this as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you, John. Commissioners, I'm guessing we will have some questions or comments tonight. Yes, Commissioner Vaughn.
Thank you, Chair. John and Eric, just hearing the presentation from Confluence the last two meetings, they mentioned historic tax credit investors. I don't know enough about it, but I just think, is it something that when we talked about blighted properties that are downtown, or people can't afford to fix these, their own historic buildings, it might be their home. Could we meet with Confluence? I would ask staff to kind of understand that process and to find out who these investors are, or maybe HEDRA's the conduit to help these investors, to help these people that have historic properties find a way to get their tax credits to get them back. I'm kind of talking like a workshop, but I just think that's been intriguing to hear what happened to them. But I think that could be a conduit, a way to educate us and educate the community that maybe we can help the residents too that have historic properties and try to bring them all up to speed if they want to. So just conversation thought, but and it might be over our head, but it's intriguing. Thank you.
It is. Thank you, Commissioner. You're correct. The funding that can come available to some of these historic renovations through tax credits is very inviting. We've done some research on this. It becomes more difficult with smaller projects. Doesn't mean that it can't be done. And I'd like to do some more research and have some more discussions with people that have been successful in this. Could it be something that you could potentially bundle projects onto instead of looking at things individually, so that these projects have a higher value and maybe more interest to folks? But it's a great tool.
Yes, Commissioner Horsch.
Being new again, so I'm going to ask a question. And the blight identification item, it's, the existing revolving loan program. What is the funding in that, and what would you like to see maybe improved there?
President Piney, Commissioner Horsch, what we would look to use the revolving loan program is to assist businesses, kind of, one, to return their property to a point where it's no longer in a code violation, but even though it may be not currently in violation of city ordinances, doesn't mean that it couldn't still use some improvements. And those improvements might not be able to be financed through working capital that the business may have and may require additional funds, which is what the city could help provide through its revolving loan fund.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks, Eric. And what's existing? Do you have a dollar amount that's existing in that program right now?
We were looking at that this evening, Commissioner Horsch, or excuse me, earlier this afternoon. The city has adequate resources in its revolving loan fund to assist businesses. I don't remember the exact number, but it's adequate.
Yeah, well, last year we had $120,000 in on the commercial and $50,000 on the residential side. And so we would bring both those forward for '22 as well.
And would you look for a little additional funding there? I mean, 50,000 is going to get you
It's
I
interesting
know.
with that too, because
a new kitchen in my world.
I know, the funds are intended to not solely pay, but to be more from a gap financing standpoint, to assist projects that are viable but not quite over the, get full financing for the project. Looking at what we've done this year so far, we haven't had a lot of demand within that. I don't think we've issued any loans, and the year's half over. The nice thing about these funds is they will revolve from one year to the next. So if we don't use all the funds in one year, the balance comes forward and we can make adjustments from year to year.
President Piney, if I could.
Yes.
Commissioner Horsch, one additional item kind of related to that under the improvement to development process is a review of existing incentive programs. And so that's something John and I spoke about this afternoon as well, was to look at the programs that we're currently offering, see if there's anything that we could adjust to the existing ones, and if there's any additional programs that we might recommend and bring to HEDRA for consideration to put into place and get working in the community.
I would think if there's some amount of publicity, you might have greater demand for those funds, you know, if we're going to actually go out there and say this is a possibility for folks in the historic district.
Commissioner Horsch, that's music to our ears.
Eric, go ahead, Commissioner.
I have a question about the Hastings Target site. The second item says to work with the owner broker and operational easement agreement signatories. What incentive does Target have to clear some of the easements that they have on their property? Because it seems like they don't have any motivation to do so. Is there any way that we can motivate them to clear some of those easements so that it is open for other uses?
Yes, President Piney, Commissioner Brox, would actually be less so the Target side of things and more so the other entities involved in that operational easement that have vested interest in the protections frankly provided to them by that operational easement. And so it's less on Target and more so on the other two parties involved. John and I continue to meet weekly, with the listing broker on that. We continue to have conversations about what the ultimate outcome will be with that Target site. And we look forward to hopefully bringing something to HEDRA and City Council. In the near future, we recognize that it's a priority of both HEDRA and City Council to see something occur with that site.
All right, thank you, Eric. I have just to paint a picture, going back to a project that would be potential with the funds. Would that be something that would help, let's say, businesses on Second Street that may have funds to, primarily work on the front of the building, but not necessarily the back of the building? Would those types of projects be kind of covered under the potential for that fund then in the future?
President Piney, I'm going to try to find what I think the question there is basically saying that, the backside of Second Street that faces
Right.
the river,
Yep.
that by and large is used for parking and kind of more back of house activities, is that
Right.
correct? Yeah, so when looking at the revolving loan fund, that can be used for real estate improvements and things like that. So the business wouldn't be precluded from seeking a revolving loan from the city. Now, likelihood that the city could not fund the entire project to make improvements on the back of the building, they would need to go with more like a traditional bank to get a loan. City would provide that additional gap through the revolving loan fund in addition to their equity that they would be bringing. But short answer is yes, that would likely qualify.
Potentially. All right, thank you. All right, does anyone have any other questions or comments? This is quite the matrix we have here before us tonight. I think another comment that I would just like to bring up, you had mentioned, John, right away about potentially funds for acquisition. I think that just looking at a planning perspective, especially on Vermillion Street and the closer you get to downtown, I think a great limitation on redevelopment of some of these sites is their size and their smallness, obviously. Developments are much bigger today. Stores are bigger, everything's bigger. These funds, I think, would really help us be able to take smaller, seemingly unrelated sites, particularly on Vermillion Street, and bring them together under one umbrella and make them potentially more attractive to outside investors. I think this is something that, has always been a hallmark of HEDRA, to be able to take that step maybe before it seems obvious to the rest of the world, but this is the entity that is able to look forward and do that kind of planning. So I think that having funds like that would really help so many things, but in particularly Vermillion Street. So, thank you.
Absolutely, and to comment a little bit further on that, Mr. President, we discussed last year, when the CARES funding was available, that there would be, when the funds are replenished, that we might be able to use some of this funding for fund balance activities, and then ultimately use these for property acquisition, which we're able to do now. And we've spent a long time with the Confluence project, which will be an enormous, great bookend to our downtown. And we're at the point right now where funding is available to really move forward, and expertise is available with Eric's addition here to move forward on a lot of these development priorities that we've had for quite some time. And so when I look at this matrix here, I really believe that this is something that's going to be a real roadmap and something that is going to be used as we move forward. Not only that we've got the funding to make some of these things happen. Along with that, the private market discussions that we've had on the interest in Hastings is strong at this point. So things are aligning very well, and I feel very good about moving forward with this.
Thank you. Excellent work, both of you. Thank you very much. All right, commissioners, does anyone have any additional questions or comments tonight? All right then, John, if I'm not mistaken, we are looking for an action on this.
That is correct. A motion to adopt the strategic plan, please.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, yes, Commissioner Brox.
Motion to approve.
Very good, thank you. Do we have a second tonight? Thank you, Commissioner Gorbush. All right, all those in favor of adopting our action plan for the next year, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, thank you, everyone. Well done, very exciting. All right, on to item 5 tonight, our reports and information, and item A will be commercial vacancy.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. Within the report here, I have some information related to vacancy and updates on development. On the vacancy side, not much has changed within the city. Did note the addition of VZ Haberdashery, which will be on 2nd Street at the 214 building. That'll be opening up. We may have heard that in the past, that was going to be a downtown location of Schoolhouse Scoop. The lease and the ownership are still the same on that one. However, the business use has changed on that one. So our understanding is that they will remain in their existing location at Schoolhouse Square, and that this will be a new entity in the downtown. So have that. On the development side, we had a nice update from the Confluence. We'll have some pictures that I'll have them make available too on the cupolas and their installation. Our Public Works Director, Nick Egger, is a drone flyer, and I was out there with him yesterday, and he was able to take some really great pictures of when they were putting that up. So that'll be something that we'll put out there. So as Confluence did point out, we had a similar action before council on Monday night or Tuesday night. They approved that as well. So we're looking forward to that continuing on. On Target, we continue to have conversations. Things seem to be looking good. I hope we have more to be able to present more substantively on that one. Other projects we've closed on Quality One, we're just about to do so and get ready for the construction of their addition. One of the things that was noted too earlier is we did have some coverage in the Finance and Commerce Journal, which is read by a lot of local developers and those within the development community, highlighting the successes that we had within our industrial park. So always great to have good news. As Eric pointed out tonight, when you still look at that site, we're still out there in the, on the Finance and Commerce site as a story that's posted on there. So hopefully that means it's getting some traction, some interest. And I think, Eric, you pointed out in an email earlier today that you've already had one call that's related to that article on people saying, hey, what's going on here in Hastings? What opportunities are here? So it's great to see those things going about. Some of the other things there, residential development continues. The same with some of the commercial development that we've had. We had a change in ownership at 1800 Vermillion Street. That now is going to be the new home for Clear Choice Pools, so they're moving into that facility. Plan to do some renovation work there as well, so that'll be nice to have that building spruced up a bit. Continue to have discussions on the residential development side. Seem to be interest on more development projects that I hope to provide more detail in the future on those ones. So I can stand for any questions from the report.
All right, thank you, John. Does anyone have any questions or comments? I would just like to make note that Thorwood has been purchased.
Forgot
Very happy to
mention
hear that. I live a few blocks from there, and yeah, my dog is always trying to go in there, so this will be nice. Very scary, but yeah, the building found an angel. That's great.
Yes, they did find one. We've been meeting with that angel a couple of times now. Our new building official, Travis Dunn, has done a great job in being proactive and trying to establish a good rapport with that person, but also say, hey, we really want to get the site cleaned up and we want the site to become something else in the future. So we have a letter with the new owner of the building. It's a property violation notice carried over with the condition of it from the fire damage. What we told him is that we're requiring that the building itself, the plans for the renovation be brought forward to the HPC for their August meeting. We have a meeting scheduled with their architect and structural engineer on Friday to go over those, so that seems to be moving along, which is great. Have that in place, and then to have the plans submitted, I believe, by the end of October this year, so that they can start construction. From talking to the owner itself, he said he's working on the site cleanup, which we've seen some activity down there already, and get the site buttoned up and get the site protected before winter comes. That's his priorities. The renovation of the interior of the building could take some time, but at least to button up that site and make it look better.
Very good. Thank you, John.
His intention on that is to renovate the building, at least the first and second stories, very close to what it was before. He would like to do the third story. Not sure how relevant, how likely that would be considering the extensive damage there. So that's yet to come.
Okay. All right, thanks, John. All right, that brings us up to item C, our visit report from Intech Plastics. Eric?
Thank you, President Piney. Yes, we toured Intech Plastics about 2 weeks ago now. Really good to get in that facility and see what's going on. Some highlights that were included in your packet. They currently have 240 employees at that location. That's up 10 employees since the last year. So it's really good to see that they've been able to grow even through the pandemic, with additional plans to hire in the next 1 to 3 years as well. But along with those additional employment opportunities comes a need for space. They're currently undergoing an analysis for what they're going to need for space the next 1 to 3 years for both additional production capacity as well as additional warehouse capacity. And so that's one thing that we made known while we were visiting with them, was that HEDRA and the City of Hastings is here to help through that process, and that we have tools in our toolbox to make sure that they can find a home in Hastings, whether that be expanding their existing facility, identifying a new facility if that's what it would come to, but again, that we're there to assist them through their process wherever feasible, that is. And that was really the gist of that visit. Very good to see their facility and everything that they're offering. President Piney did join staff on that visit. If President Piney, you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I would really recommend everybody try doing that at least once. It's really fascinating just to find out from an employer's perspective what they see when looking at the community. One of the really interesting things that I found out, and I thought was a really nice tie-in to having Mr. Regan here tonight is nice. One of the big concerns that Intact Plastics had was hotel and conference facilities. So when, we at HEDRA think about economic development, jobs creation is always paramount. But how that development kind of has a ripple effect is sort of unexpected sometimes. So this is a really nice kind of tie-in to a, project that we did sponsor is gonna end up helping out, one of the main concerns for Intac overall, so. That was a kind of an unexpected eureka moment in going with, so like I said, I recommend it for everybody. All right, that brings us down to item D, which would be our annual report this evening.
Thank you, Mr. President. For this portion, I'm going to turn it over here shortly to Grady Timmerman, our community development intern here. Grady is with us here for the summer. He's finishing up his master's degree in urban planning at Mankato State University, and we're involving him in a lot of economic development and planning activities around here. My goal at the end of this 3 months is to make sure that he is the most prepared candidate for a full-time position after this. And one of the duties that we assigned to him was putting together the annual report, which highlights the activities of the Community Development Department. Within your packet is the full report, and Grady is going to provide a summary of some of the highlights. So I'll turn it over to you, Grady.
Thank you, President. Thank you, John, for that introduction. Today I will be presenting the Community Development Department's annual report for 2022 or 2020. A second. Oh, it's going to show up there. Is there a way to F5? Well, to have my and then not show up on the TV.
I don't know that one.
You don't know that one?
Yeah.
Eric, do you know that by chance? No? Okay. All right. So starting off with development and construction activities, in 2020, there were a total of 56 residential permits issued with an evaluation estimated at about $5.3 million. There were also 83 commercial permits issued in 2020 with an estimated evaluation of about $20.5 million. That is an increase of 34 permits and about $1.8 million from the year before. And then lastly, in 2020, there were 133 zoning permits issued, which was 23 more permits than the previous year. And then moving on to existing and potential development, the existing lot inventory or lots that are immediately available for development in Hastings include 78 single-family lots, 10 multi-family lots, and 244 multi-family units. Heritage Ridge, Villas at Pleasant, Riverwood, and Glendale Heights are some of the existing developments currently being undertaken. The planned lot inventory, or lots that require further city approvals before development, include 134 single-family lots, 185 multifamily lots, and 60 multifamily units. South Oaks, South Pines, and Sunset West are some of the planned developments in the city of Hastings. The potential lot inventory, or lots with no formal approvals granted for development, include 1,225 single-family lots, 717 multifamily lots, and 296 multifamily units. In total, that is 1,469 single-family units, 912 multifamily lots, and 600 multifamily units. And then moving on to HEDRA activities. One of the activities highlighted in the annual report is the city's Land for a Dollar program. The Land for a Dollar program provides fully serviced lots that are available in the Hastings Business and Industrial Park for only $1 per acre under the city's land credit program. The market value of the land is held as a deferred loan against the property upon completion of certain job wage and construction improvement values. The loan is satisfied with no further obligations. This program allows businesses greater ability to invest in buildings, capital improvements, and job creation instead of raw land. Since 1997, the land credit program has fostered the construction of or expansion of 19 businesses, creating over 120 jobs and investment of nearly 11.1 million in commercial space. Another resource provided in 2020 is free entrepreneur assistance. opentobusiness.mn.org provides free one-on-one guidance and loans for existing and potential entrepreneurs growing in their business. There's some contact information for more information. And then along with that, HEDRA has also provided commercial and residential rehabilitation loans as well as interest rate reduction loans to qualified properties. Loan terms are typically 10 years at 0.25 above the prime rate. Loans are payment and interest free during the first years. And then in 2020, HEDRA ceased collection of loan payments and approved a resolution which continued the deferment of interest, accrual, and payment obligations for HEDRA loans in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. There are currently 14 loans with current payment obligations totaling $211 million as of December 31st, 2020. The deferral would continue until December 21st, 2020, or upon further extension by HEDRA. Another COVID-related assistance program established by HEDRA in 2020 was the Hastings Economic Assistance for Recovery Together, or HARP program, which provided over $180,000 worth of grants to 70 local businesses to help pay for changes in business practices in response to COVID-19 pandemic. And then commercial policy changes were also made in 2020 in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, and included increased outdoor dining options that were made available through the conversion of parking spaces into parklet dining. HEDRA made grant funding available to facilitate the parklets constructions, and additional tables and restroom facilities were added to the downtown riverfront areas. The 2020 update to the strategic plan for economic development was also adopted. It drew upon the experience of the past year to propose adjustments to the focus of economic development activities. The 2020 update also provided guidance for the 2021 budgeting process. It focused on 4 strategic initiatives, number 1 being to work with property owners and developers to redevelop underutilized and blighted properties. Number 2, to meet housing needs of Hastings. Number 3, to encourage the creation and growth of local business. And number 4, to explore opportunities presented by spades. The 2022 Housing Needs Report, adopted by HEDRA, acted as a starting point for understanding issues facing the community and developing and implementing strategies for addressing housing issues as they relate to economic development. It assessed Hastings' housing stock by the following criteria: affordability, cost of new construction, life cycle housing, townhouse and homeowners associations, existing single-family housing stock, redevelopment, and then rental housing. And then some development updates. Work continues in the transformation of the historic 100,000 square foot Hudson Manufacturing Building. IDM Hospitality Management has joined the Confluence team to manage the hotel, banquet facility, and restaurant operations. Environmental and exterior roof activities are nearing completion, and interior work on the commercial elements and apartments will commence in 2021. HEDRA approved preliminary land sale and a concept plan for a storage facility in 2020. The project consists of 6 storage buildings totaling 45,420 square feet. It was constructed on a 2.58 acre property located at 2030 Spiral Boulevard. HEDRA also approved the sale of and site plan for custom sawdust to support new development within the city's industrial park. Construction of the 2,409 square foot facility on property adjacent to Minnesota Coach's bus facility will begin in summer 2021, with the facility expected to open in fall of 2021. And lastly, the table on this slide represents commercial and industrial vacancies in 2020. There was a net increase in vacancies in the downtown area in 2020. Vacancies along Highway 55 and Vermilion Street both saw a net decrease in 2020, and the industrial park saw no net change in 2020. Overall, the total vacancies in commercial and industrial properties in Hastings decreased by 2 in 2020. And then with that, I will direct any questions or comments to Mr. Hensman, as I was not a part of the city in 2020. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Grady. All right, does anyone have any comments or questions? All right, that brings us on to item E then, the 2021 Economic Development Biannual Update. Is that correct, John?
That is, I'm going to have Eric take on this one.
Thank you, John. President Piney, HEDRA Commissioners, with the adoption of your strategic plan this evening, part of that was goals set forward for staff related to economic development, largely related to interaction with our business community. To date, staff has completed 10 BR&E visits with local businesses. Some of those are in partnership with the Hastings Chamber of Commerce and their ambassadors program. So we greatly appreciate that program that they put together and that they invite city staff along for those visits. They are highly valuable. Another goal is for 100 business drop-ins. The difference between just a business drop-in and a BR&E is it's simply a time when staff, basically unannounced, just stops and says hello, as a friendly face, asks how their business is going, how their day is going, and just so that they know who to contact. Try and take up basically less than 60 seconds of their time, just a touch point for the city. To date, we've completed 64 of those business drop-ins. 33 have been in the downtown, 10 in the business park, 12 along Highway 55, and 9 along the Vermilion Street corridor. In your packet, it noted 4 new businesses. As I was going through this, I thought of a 5th. So we have 5 new businesses in Hastings so far that city staff are aware of. Those include Legacy Cheese, Smoke and Oak, new Edward Jones facility, Halal Foods in the business park, and Hiawatha Broadband Company, which took out some space in the Cub Food Center, and they are working on a broadband project throughout the city. City Council is aware of those as we've been working through right-of-way permits for those projects. So that would be essentially our summary for the first and second quarters for economic development activity. We'd look to bring forward a full annual report related to economic development activity to your meeting in January to wrap up 2021. With that, I'll stand for questions.
All right, thank you, Eric. Yes, Commissioner Horsch.
So Eric, remind me, when you go on the visits, do you always send an email to us to say, I'm going on I'm just trying to, I think I've gotten one in the past, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, President Piney, Commissioner Horsch, going forward, yes, that's something we're going to do. Let's see, it'd be 2 visits ago, we happen to have a meeting already set up with Commissioner Gobler and invited him along when we toured Quality One Woodworking and thought, hey, this is not a bad idea. So we extended that invite out HEDRA wide. President Piney took us up on this most recent one. And at the request of President Piney, I agree it would be good if we could get each HEDRA member along on one of those visits, because it is helpful, one, to have those businesses know who was on staff to talk to, but also who their elected and appointed officials are as well. So you'll see those requests going forward.
All right, thank you, Eric. Are there any additional comments or questions this evening? Well, I'd like to thank staff for making us look very good next year and last year. We got a lot done from behind some TV cameras. Thank you, Grady. All right, if we are done this evening, we will entertain a motion at this point. All right, move to adjourn from Commissioner Sinclair. Commissioner Horsch, we have a second. All those in favor of adjourning this evening, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.